Section 9. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not
Okay, this is the rest of the U.S. Constitution for the Congress. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am, because I'm really enjoying reading this. This is the giant book that reading books online for reading the U.S. Constitution. Here we go. This is like, I think, the 10th reading now. Article 2, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, read to you by candidate Congressman John Kitover of Illinois 16. Go to johnforcongress.com. The President shall have power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate by granting commissions which shall expire at the end of their next session. Section 3. He shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the state of the Union, and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may on extraordinary occasions convene both houses or either of them, and in case of disagreement between them with respect to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. He shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, and shall commission all the officers of the United States. Section 4. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Article 3, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall at stated times receive for the services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases, in law and equity, rising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made, or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state, claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof in foreign states, citizens or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and councils, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all the other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction. But as to law and fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make.
The United States Constitution John Kitover It may happen during the recess of the Senate.
Okay, that's Article 3, Section 2, I think. I'm going to check out Mojo's room as I label the rest of these if he's on. In the muff.
Brad, if the one topic that I could deep dive into exploring would be Area 51, so-called UFO, alien cover-ups, the truth about the Greys, the aliens, and all these various so-called alien entities. You know, I would love to speak with one-on-one, perhaps a former, like a retired military personnel who was tasked with, top secret alien experiments. I believe these people exist. I have binders. This is going to be hard to believe, but I have binders. Over the years, I've collected binders. This might either be pathetic or speak to my black girl nerd nature. Binders of research that I've done over the years about these topics. Primarily because I've collected this information for helping draft fictional stories. But once you start deep diving into some of these reports and opinions and testimonies, quite convincing and compelling, and Operation Blue Book and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, if I could turn my attention from entertainment reporting and get paid to do a deep dive into UFO cover-up, government conspiracies, alien technology used by our government and military, warcraft, et cetera, allegedly. Yeah, I would do that. This field intrigues me greatly.
My issue with this field, I agree with you. It does intrigue me because I don't believe we're the only species out there. I'm not one of these Christians that thinks that Sky Daddy created me. I think there are other life forms, and even NASA has recognized that there are lights that are just zillions of miles down into the other atmosphere. My problem is the way people on Earth project this myth about aliens. First and foremost, they're not going to the southwest of the United States. That's not tactically, it would make no sense if I was to invade Earth to kill off people. First, I'm going to hover over areas where I'm going to be maybe camouflaged. I'm going to use infiltration techniques, which you would assume an alien species would have, since they've already designed the flight, the length times, and the capabilities to go across trillions of light years to come to our planet. And somehow, you think that they're just dumb enough to plant themselves in the middle of a cornfield in Nebraska, pick up some guy, shove an anal probe up his ass, and then think that that's the extent of it? I just think that the way we look at aliens, we don't look at it in the way that reality would be. They would come to the ocean, 3/4 of the world is water. They would find some place there. They would probably to land and explore a little bit. Obviously, they would have the capabilities to land in a cold-ass climate where there is less chance for them to be seen. More priorities to be able to defend, which would be northern Russia, Canada, Sahara Desert. That would make some sense. Not in fucking corn-fed bread, Nebraska. I just don't buy it. I don't. Everyone keeps saying these aliens are all over the place and emergent, and they see it in the sky and they're saying it's over Chicago, maybe I'm not discrediting them, but it just doesn't seem tactically possible, or at least for an advanced civilization, to come on here with all of that knowledge, all of that wisdom, and they've clearly explored other planets. They would not go to an epicenter of a population or a busy area and kind of go there.
Anyways, I was saying, y'all aware the thing is heading not toward Earth, but it's going to come closer. It's a 12-mile long object moving at 135,000 miles per hour, so they say. And some scientists calling it a comet, but they say it's not acting like a comet. There's one Harvard scientist that said he believes it's an alien craft. And it should get by Mars by December, like somewhere in there. I forgot exactly what they said that. But and it said a positive that it's not from this galaxy. It's from somewhere. It's interstellar. Whatever the fuck that means. It's the first object that ever came from another. So it's not galaxy. So whatever the fuck came from. Y'all should Google it. But it's coming close to Earth, and one scientist saying it's an alien spaceflight.
Yeah, I heard about that, Hakima.
But to be fair, Kima, you actually believe the world is flat. So, I mean,
that ain't got nothing to do with the report of this day. That's coming from people that believe it's a globe. That's coming from scientists. That's not coming from me.
And Vincent's right. He said it in the chat. Just because they're unidentified flying objects doesn't mean they're aliens. They could be. They're just unidentified flying objects. And now, with today's things, we have people flying drones. Like, we have people flying drones. When we were down in Kirk County, like, searching for people, one of the biggest fucking problems I had was the number of fucking drones. And they weren't there looking for people, although I will give some credence to it. It does help with the search. Drones do help if they're deployed in a certain fashion and they're used. But a lot of these idiots were doing fucking selfies with their drones. They were signing them up, trying to do their little TikTok, Instagram reels to show how bad it was down there, and do them. And they also interfere in so many ways. So I can see where people are like, oh, it's an identified flying object, and it's like a fucking drone that somebody bought off of Amazon, and it's not flying around the neighborhood doing stupid shit and threw lights on it or dressed it up as something. And I think we're just going to see more of this.
They're making a movie about the infamous Betty and Barney Hill abduction, Brad. I'm sure you've heard about that. I think it was in the 60s. Yeah, I think it was in the 60s. One of the most famous alien abduction stories. And who was starring in it? I think Demi Moore and Coleman Domingo were going to be starring in the Betty and Barney Hill alien
That makes
abduction.
sense. Especially for Debbie, because she's batshit crazy. So yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
But wait, to your point though, Brad, about aliens traveling billions of light years to come here, I'm going to try to articulate this as properly as I can. It might come out effed up, but let me do my best. I read once, because I'm trying to remember where I read this, some UFO alien outer space book that I have, or some FBI file.
Article 2, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, read to by Congressman John Kitover, the 16th, go to JohnForCongress.com.
Centuries old.
The president shall have power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate by granting commissions which shall expire at the end of the next session. Section 3. He shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the state of the Union and recommend to their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may on extraordinary occasions convene both houses or either of them, and in case of disagreement between them with respect to the time of adjournment, he may adjourn them to such time as he shall think proper. He shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, and shall commission all the officers of the United States Section 4. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be
expire at the end of the next session. Session 3. So play down, okay? Respect that.
This is the John Kitover Book Club. We're reading the U.S. Constitution.
If
If you want to join our book club, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and join our book club. This is the John Kitover Book Club. We're reading what's called books, because most people have brain rot, and they're no longer reading anything. John Kitover. No state shall enter Section 2 of the United States Constitution. Section 1 of the United States Constitution. What up, Eddie?
a fine morning or I'll shoot you. Get out. Don't say it's a fine morning or I'll shoot you. Get out of here, fucking. Good morning. Carlos, what do you...
Granting conditions which shall expire. Granting
Section 1 of the a candidate congressman. A candidate Section 2 of the United States Constitution, read to you by candidate Congressman John Kitover of Illinois 16. Section 1.
granting conditions. Granting
We want the guy to be able to reply. So, we want the guy to be able to reply.
Section 1 of the United States Constitution. Section. A candidate congressman. Okay, sorry for the delay. I'm going to read the Constitution a little bit more. I think it's going to take me probably like a day to get through the whole thing. These are 3-minute intervals. Here we go. Okay, this is Article 3. Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution, read by candidate Congressman John Kitover of the 16th District in Illinois. Go to johnforcongress.com. Article 3, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation, which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens or subjects, in all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all the other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exceptions, and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state where the said crimes shall have been committed, but when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such place or places as the Congress may by law have directed. Section 3. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. The Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture, except during the life of the person attainted. Article 5, Section 1. Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts.
Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution, read by candidate Congressman. The 16th is for Congress.com. Unless they shall by law appoint a different day. Section 5. Each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns and qualifications of its own members, and the majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a smaller number may adjourn from day to day, and may be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as each house may provide. Each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. Each house shall keep a journal of representative shall, during the time for which it was elected, be appointed to any civil office under the authority of the United States, which shall have been created, or the emoluments whereof shall have been increased during such time, and no person holding any office under the United States shall be a member of either house during his continuance in office. Section 7. All bills from raising revenue shall originate in the House of Representatives, but the Senate may propose or concur with amendments as on other bills. Every bill which shall have passed the House of Representatives and the Senate shall, before it becomes a law, be presented to the President of the United States. If he approve, he shall sign it,
exercise exclusive legislation in any cases whatsoever. This Constitution, read by President Congressman John Kitover of the 6th Congress, become the seat of the government of the United States. Depends on the rights of different states, and between states, the citizens that are foreign states, citizens or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors, public ministers and councils, and those that Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution, read by candidate Congressman John Kitover of the 16th District of Illinois. Go to johnforcongress.com. Article 3, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior, shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation, which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and Article 4 of the U.S. Constitution, read by U.S. Army veteran and candidate Congressman John Kitover of the 16th District of Illinois. Go to johnforcongress.com. Article 4, Section 1. Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state, and the Congress may, by general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved, and the effect thereof. Section 2. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. A person charged in any state with treason, felony, or other crime, who shall flee from justice, be bound in another state, shall on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled be delivered up, to be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime. No person held to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping into another, shall in consequence of any law or regulation therein be discharged from such service or labor, which shall be delivered up on claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due. Section 3. New states may be admitted by the Congress into this Union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, or any state be formed by the junction of two or more states, or parts of states, without the consent of the legislatures of the states concerned as well as of the Congress. The Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States, and nothing in this Constitution shall be so construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States or of any particular state. Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this Union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or of the executive, when the legislature cannot be convened against domestic violence. Article 5. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either cases shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, is the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses in the ninth section of the first article.
Should be given in each state from the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state, and the Congress.
Okay, this is Johnny Kitover Book Club. We're almost finished. I think we'll do one more round and then that'll be it. Let's tune into Dr. Mojo, see what he's mojoing about.
They're going to take the disputed border that they have with Russia. That's what I think is going to happen. I think this is the time for Russia to be completely isolated, and in wrestling, if you turn to the good side, call that a face turn. I think this is going to become the biggest face turn in geopolitics in a long time.
I don't know if I agree with that statement. I think they'll optically do a face turn and they'll do a pause on things, but I think they'll wait and see who's going to be the next administration, and then they'll try to do, find a few more Eric Swalwells to get their way, and hopefully get the next president to buckle and cater to their needs.
Wait, did you just say that you think Russia is going to take over parts of China?
No, the opposite. China's going to take over parts of Russia.
But
I think as soon as Xi is out of power, I think that the new regime is going to snuggle up with the U.S.
have you ever been to a Chinese dog festival?
It's an interesting question. The answer is no.
I'm just saying, when you see, the Chinese are fierce and they're aggressive, but aren't they totally logical? I mean, they don't want mass casualties. Nobody wants, political turmoil. They're all about control and peace and balance, but they're extremely.
Why are they creating viruses?
Because Dr. Fauci and the NIH and the CDC and Peter Strzok and the Eco Health Alliance decided that funding Wuhan lab and creating a global pandemic that Bill Gates kept prophesizing was a good idea. And turns out it was financially, because $6 trillion was created to chalk it up amongst Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, and hundreds of other corporations and increase the U.S. national debt by $6 trillion. It was an incredible operation.
China's been experimenting with biological weapons since post-war their repulsion of the Japanese army after the rape of Nanking. They've been experimenting with it multiple times. In fact, they actually have a history prior to that, but they've been heavily expanding on that post-World War II.
If y'all don't know the U.S. and China work together with that shit, y'all better be certain.
You know what the craziest statistic is out of China? Is if you look at their top 25 cities and you look at their annual budgets and you compare that to U.S. top city annual budgets, it dwarfs it like 10-1. Now, I don't know if that's because of the total number of people living in a 50 million person city or 35 million person city, or if it's because that's their economic model. Does anyone have an opinion?
I wonder if Angelica has an opinion. John, why do
I assume because there's a lot less compliance and oversight, and you can get away with doing it in a foreign country underneath the guise of research and development.
Do you think maybe it could have had to do with the plan was to try to kill off as many Chinese people as possible because they're useless eaters?
Well, yesterday in the news, they said there is a new, fresh outbreak of some type of pandemic in China, and they got those trucks with the fumes that they spray through the streets. I don't know what it's like to live in China, but when your government continually sprays your streets down with a white toxic fume because they claim that you may have a pandemic of some sort, or it's all just fake news. I don't know, but sorry, I lost track. What was your question and what did you ask?
Oh man, I miss being asked questions. I'm just wondering, like, why we couldn't have done it like in Mexico. It would have been closer. Like, it seems inefficient. Seems inefficient.
So we were funding cross the platforms, and we were doing that there. There's no denying that way. We had involvement in the research of it through the NIH, but we would not fund a biological weapon in China. So that conspiracy theory is asinine to believe. We would not give it to one of the chief rivals on the geopolitical stage to have that, and we wouldn't allow that research to go on. So we would put it back on Plum Island, Diego Garcia's, one of the Caribbean islands we hold, or one of the black sites that we have around the world. We have many of those. Bikini Atoll. We have Alaska. We have research facilities in the U.S. Just many of you don't know about them. And we can even do it out at sea. We've done research out at sea. So, I mean, it seems weird that the conspiracy theorists think that somehow the U.S. and China are in bed together to create a biological weapon, and that we would build it, design it, implement it in China's backyard, giving them the edge. That just doesn't make sense at any level.
Well, I asked Grok today about COVID-19 origins, Dr. Fauci, and Grok only cites World Health Organization statistics and actually quotes CDC, but uses WHO as the primary source of all its intelligence. Now, isn't that a little strange?
If I could jump in here for 1 second. So, the original gain of function research started in Fort Detrick. Remember that this COVID virus disproportionately killed older people with comorbidities, and China's had a one-child policy for a long time. I'm not saying, that anybody will admit it, but if you wanted to get rid of a lot of old people in China, this probably would be the way to.
Does anyone here actually trust their government, or do you think people in other countries also trust their government with 100% full faith and credit? Because I don't know about you, but based on the stupid people on Clubhouse and the stupid people I've met throughout my life, I have very little trust in the competence, the fiduciary responsibilities, as people love to toss that word up here all the time, fiduciary. Does anyone here think that their U.S. government is comprised of extremely intelligent people, or do you think we are plagued with what's known as DEI?
Listen, I don't know that we're plagued with DEI as much as we are plagued with corruption. I know a lot of folks have hard-ons for DEI, but I don't think DEI is the root cause of a lot of our problems. I think it's corruption and a lack of caring for the people. These politicians, whether they're on the left or the right, don't give a hot damn about people, the Americans. Doesn't matter if you're black, white, male, straight, gay, etc., etc. Has nothing to do with DEI, sir. Thank you.
That's just a question. I was just asking if anybody thinks that DEI was a problem in federal agencies, because now that Donald Trump is president and he's done away with DEI, technically it should all be gone. But I wonder how many people who were part of the DEI movement were actually terminated from U.S. government positions, but now are just secretly doing communication.
I have a question for you, John. Can I ask you?
Please, ask away, Dr. Mojo.
What do you think of Democrats, because Angelica seems to think that if we just got rid of the racists and the sexists that voted for Trump, everything would be fine.
Well, I think Democrats are a major problem. They are in control of all of our borrowing and spending. And I'm absolutely sick of borrowing and spending at the federal and state and city levels. And guess what that means? I am absolutely sick of Democrats. And if anybody here in this room calls themselves a Democrat, please explain to me, why people should continue voting for Democrats. Thank you very little.
I'm not a Democrat. Like y'all don't even listen. Like you can pretend to be smart, but never listen to shit.
Who did you vote for?
What the hell to do with anything?
Wait, hold on. If he didn't vote for somebody that was black and woman, then I think Angelica would have a vote.
But he even did vote for Kamala.
Shit, he about to make a friend.
He's gonna make a Nazi Mexican a friend. Damn, Kima, don't do it, brother. Don't. I love you. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself.
So because somebody voted Democrat or Republican, I mean they are a Democrat or Republican. Is that what you're saying? There's a lot of independents and libertarians and all types of shit that vote Democrat and Republican. Somehow, just because I voted for Kamala, I gotta be a Democrat.
Who do you think is a bigger liberal, a Democrat or a libertarian? Hakima, the question is, and it's for anybody in the room, who do you think is the bigger liberal, a Democrat or a libertarian?
Hey, don't cut me off to ask me a question when I'm trying to finish something.
Sorry, then just go ahead, but that was the question I wanted to ask the room. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Hakima.
You guys are really getting your money's worth out of the axe thing. I know, right? But the only reason I say this is because you are very much in every space, very much opposed to Republicans, very much opposed to any kind of conservative. No matter if the policy is good or whether there's something good, you have an opposition to it. And you never critique the Democrats. And you always think Democrats are superior to the Republicans. So that is my fault for assuming, based on your own statements, that you more closely align or more involved with the Democrat Party.
Hey, Brad, for a year
Well, you're black, so I just went with 1 plus 40.
Okay, for a year and a half, I sat here and shitted on Democrats and Republicans. Had RFK as the person I'm voting for. And I didn't vote for Biden, I didn't vote for Hillary, I didn't vote for Obama his second time. And I literally sat on in-house debate and shitted on both parties. And I ended up voting for Kamala because of Trump. And I go against Trump.
Palestinian out of here, like. You hear it all the time.
Man, where was that one you was out there like an hour ago? What is wrong with this dude? Foolish.
You hear it all. The way you're coming at me right now is not changing my mind. In fact, it's making me lean the other way.
All right, so
Who gives a shit?
let me give you all.
Okay, this is Candidate Congressman John Kitover reads U.S. Constitution. We're almost finished getting through the Constitution this morning. This is Article 6. Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, read by Candidate Congressman and U.S. Army veteran John Kitover of the 16th District of Illinois. All debts, contracted, and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound in any state to the contrary notwithstanding. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office of public trust under the United States. Article 7. The ratification of the conventions of 9 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states ratifying the same, done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord, 1787, and of the independence of the United States of America the 12th, in witness whereof we have hereunto subscribed our names. G to the degree, Washington, President and Deputy from Virginia. Delaware, Geo. Red. Gunning, Bedford, June. John Dickinson, Richard Bassett, Jacob Broom. Maryland, James McHenry, Dan of St. Thomas Jennifer. Donald Carroll, Virginia. John Blair, James Madison Jr., North Carolina. W.M. Blount, Richard Dobbs Spate, Hugh Williamson, South Carolina. J. Rutledge, Charles Coatsworth Pinckney, Charles Pinckney, Pierce Butler. Georgia, William Few, Abraham Baldwin. New Hampshire, John Langdon, Nicholas Gilman. Massachusetts, Nathaniel Gorham, Rufus King. Connecticut, W.M. Samuel Johnson, Roger Sherman. New York, Alexander Hamilton. New Jersey, William Livingston, David Brearley, W.N. Patterson, Jonah Dayton. Pennsylvania, B. Franklin, Thomas Mifflin, Robert Morris, Geo Clymer, Thos Fitzsimmons, Jared Ingersoll, James Wilson, Goove Morris. Attest William Jackson, Secretary.
Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, read by candidate Congressman and U.S. Army Veteran John Kitover, the 16th District of
I don't know what your background is. Engagements for adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution is adopted as a confederation. This Constitution and the laws of the United States shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, which shall be made in the authority.
Last year you did like a mini screenwriting contest. Was that one and done, or is there a future plan?
Well, we're doing the next one in October, launched in October. The people have asked for it. They came into my room, they're like, "Nine, when's the next screenwriting competition?" So it's in October.
Okay, yeah, if you can give me info on that, like what it's a short story, I assume, again, like.
Yeah, it's of course keeping it in my wheelhouse. It's a short, 10-page screenwriting competition centered on UFO, AI, sci-fi. But we'll have all the details in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Any of the above genres.
Sonia's here. Sonia won last year. She's not here. Normally she comes in. Sonia won last year. $500 cash prize.
Now, can I ask you a question?
Yes, John. You can ask me.
Are you concerned that at $37 trillion and $1 trillion a year in interest payments, by the year 2050, we will be at over $50 trillion in debt and $4 trillion annual interest payments? If we only collect $5 trillion a year right now, and it's probably not going to go that much up that much further, do you think the United States will be able to afford $4 trillion of interest payments annually?
No, I don't. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I just really think about movies and sci-fi and shit. So, all this extra. I mean, I care about the economy and the deficit and going in debt. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I really just be thinking about aliens and UFOs and Doctor Who and writing and storytelling. So, don't get too deep on me, John. Okay? Not with the topic of deficit.
Well, my point is, just look around. You're already living in a clown world. These are clown demons from Mars. You're already living in a science fiction film. They're called Democrats.
No, it's true. And actually, while I appreciate film and writing, I actually was about to, go on a big fishing trip this weekend, but you reminding me of that trillion, that scenario, I just canceled it. How am I going to go fishing when that is hanging over us?
Yeah, I don't want to follow.
Well, I encourage you, that's a way though. My sister's husband, he told me, he's like, you're wasting your time on X, on Clown House. He goes, I go fly fishing. I was like, well, that's probably a better way. So I agree with you. I do believe in relaxation and meditation despite all of my, political spam. But if that's your way to deal with Clown World, well, that's a good way.
It was, until you just brought that up. So I literally just clicked cancel. Thank God I have a 48-hour, refund fully available. Thank you for reminding me where my priorities should be.
Oh, Moose, oh my God.
I think you don't understand.
Okay.
Shirley got me.
Okay. My dad was a Republican, and he voted for he always voted third party when it was available. Because he agreed that both parties are just clowns. Every October or November, there was an opportunity to have the apocalypse. We had a bag of beans and a bag of rice. But hey guys, he went there.
We're done. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to add, my dad would be.
Were you going to ask or ask?
Hey, please, lighten up on my New York friend up there. Okay. He would be 100 now. And as long as I can remember, he was worried about the upcoming apocalypse. There is a possibility that we could have the apocalypse, but you just don't need to miss any fishing trips over worrying about it.
Shirley, your dad is a wise man, because here's the reality that people don't want to hear. Every species eventually goes extinct. Humans will go extinct. The question is not if. The question is when and how. And if it's inevitable, then you might as well do what you like. Smoke a Vivica.
He wasn't worried about us going extinct. Yeah, he wasn't worried about that, but he was worried about the Mad Max movie. And there's some of these people that would like us to be living the Mad Max life, and I'm not interested. Oh, and I like to buy my groceries from the grocery store that's making enough money to bring me some good stuff.
What's the good stuff? What are you eating there? You eating chitlins?
I've never eaten a chitlin, but I eat whole foods. That's all I gotta say. Avoid that stuff they won't sell you on with SNAP now, and you're doing better.
What about government-run grocery stores, Shirley? It seems to be a hot topic issue in major liberal cities.
What did I just say? I don't want anybody running my grocery store except for a capitalist who's going to be making money, so he'll bring me good stuff, so I want to come to his store.
What's amazing about Whole Foods is that you can get these incredible deals on eggs have obviously been a hot topic, right, since dictator took office, but what's amazing though is that you can get like peanut butter for like $16. That really oily, weird peanut butter.
Wait, Moose, is he a dictator because Trump is a dictator, or is it because all presidents are dictators? Which one is it, Moose?
Okay, let me pop in on this. When I said Whole Foods, I just meant.
Why don't we let Moose finish what he was saying? That might be a strategy.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure, go ahead, please. I yield.
Well, I went to
John Kitover, the 16th.
in Dallas when the hippies were running it, and I was continued to go after the it got
Unless they
far out, and they picked my grapes off the stems. Hey, it was great, but then I figured out I could pick my grapes off my own stems and save money by going to Walmart. But then I started going to Sprouts because it was cheaper and the food was kind of like the hippies. Back when Whole Foods was really Whole Foods. Okay, I'm going to find y'all can fuss some more.
I got a question. I wanted to ask Mojo. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mojo.
No, it's just fuss. I love the old vernacular. Carry on.
I was going to ask Mojo. I was just reading the U.S. Constitution, going through the 7 articles and all the sections, and I'm just wondering, do you think the founders of this country, in our primary documents, do you think that the principles of, the Mises Institute or frugality are embedded in the original source documents of our country?
I think limits on government is embedded there. I do think that there are some things about in the preamble that gives oxygen to the expansive nature. So the preamble's got some words in it that I think breathe air into these sections.
The Constitution are these great historical documents that have survived for centuries, living and breathing documents. If they were actually written today, they would look like, I shudder at the thought.
See, this is where philosophically I might be able to blow your mind. And that's because the now is all important. And it turns out that the now is a compression. And so guess what's written now? The U.S. Constitution. It's written now, not in 1787. Also, have you ever heard of the names of the people that signed the Constitution in the 7th? Where is it? The names are incredible.
John, what about the fact that the guys that gave us the Bill of Rights, they were in such fear of their lives that they had to use pseudonyms. They couldn't even use their real names to be able to argue that the Bill of Rights should be included. The original pass of the Constitution wasn't going to include it. It wasn't until these folks articulated that you might not get this thing ratified if you don't include the Bill of Rights. So a lot of people don't understand that the Bill of Rights, which is the best part of the Constitution, that wasn't what the majority was thinking. It was a very vocal minority that threatened to upset the apple cart.
Mojo, you think to that point then, do you think James Madison identified as them in order to protect his identity?
No, but when it comes to them, I would say that the Holy Trinity just defines himself as them. It's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. So I definitely think the proper pronoun for God would be them.
So when you look at the Declaration of Independence versus the Constitution, aren't they technically both a set of rules?
No, Declaration of Independence is a list of grievances.
But, statements like, it just seems to me, for imposing taxes on us without our consent. There's just so many things in the Declaration of Independence, which to me is, who cares what they title it? These are like a set of philosophies, rules to live by for me.
That was really just a letter to the king saying, hey, this is what we believe. Fuck around and find out. That's what the Declaration is all about.
Well, in the book that I have, they're in the same book. So if it's a book of laws, book of rules, book of statements, book of opinions, it's our most important document. It's our treatise on the legitimacy of this country. So if you don't view the Declaration of Independence as also being a set of rules to live by, I don't understand why that's, questionable.
What do you think of the Albany? You familiar with that?
Sorry, what was the question?
Are you familiar with the Albany Plan?
No.
So the Albany Plan was first attempt by Americans to distinguish themselves and establish their own government. It just didn't have enough structure to it. Some libertarians love it because it didn't establish quite the power that the Constitution does. Despite the limit on power that the Constitution calls for, the Albany plan was even less restricted. I'm driving right now, and I will quote you some things from it, but it's definitely worth looking up if you haven't checked it out, the Albany plan.
You know the movie The Big Lebowski, when he's sleeping with Maud, she's like, so tell me about yourself, Mr. Lebowski. And he's like, well, I was one of the authors of the Port Huron Statement. So I went on eBay and I typed in Port Huron Statement, and I bought a copy of like the original Port Huron Statement. I think it's like a student revolutionary little pamphlet. But, I'm just saying the primary source documents, in my opinion, completely invalidate our entire economic model, let alone the size of government, all the agencies, all the employees. Maybe it's because I'm reading the Constitution and everything that we're doing is, in my opinion, is anti-constitutional or opposing the Constitution, which, is a very limited set of rules and scope. And the size of everything, the size of the scope, the size of the charter, as if we have completely mutated, as a country. But
that's to be expected. I mean, if you and I started a business and we created an employee handbook, when there's 5 employees, that handbook's going to look different than if there was 5,000 employees. So I think that there's having scope creep, especially in a government sense. I think it goes with the territory. I think what you're illustrating though is that not only is it outside of the bounds, it's diametrically opposed to the original intention, which I think I think if we were as patriotic as we say we are, we would have some major grievances. In fact, I would argue that the grievances in the Declaration of Independence were far smaller in scope than the grievances that modern day Americans have with today's federal government. At some point, I think somebody needs to pen a new Declaration of Independence and challenge the legitimacy of the government we have today.
Well, in a former room, I said, it seems to me like we're becoming the Soviet, United States of America. And you're like, no, we are becoming the fascist United States of America. So if we are a fascist state, is Trump our fascist leader?
Just one in a long line of them.
But what if he's anti-fascist and it's the Democrats running all of these states and cities, which are the true fascists amongst us, and he's a great liberator of these fascists?
Is there a big city that you think is run well? In the entire United States, think of a city with let's call it 500,000 people or more. If you get to 1 million, then there's just too few of them. But 500,000 people or more. Name one that's ran well.
Well, I've been to Austin. That seemed like a pretty clean operation to me.
Think it'll remain that way with all the Californians go there?
See, that to me, that's not like a city. It's got to be grimy. It can't be like a beautiful desert environment spread out. Like if you go to New York City and the fact that you see so much trash and rats just piled up everywhere. I know it's old, but there's got to be better. I'm not an OCD person with regards to cleanliness, but New York City is like, there's some of it is like next level filth that I've never seen in any other major U.S. city.
Have you ever been to Vancouver, BC?
No, I know. I've heard it's beautiful.
They do a pretty good job, although there's an area called Hastings. It's just a street. It's